Okay, welcome to the tutorial. Let's start by adding a cube and make it thinner. I'm gonna use something like 20, and then let's make this editable by hitting C or clicking this one. And let's go to edge mode and select the edges of the cube and right click and hit bevel, or you can use M and S on the keyboard, and then we can bevel the edges like this, but you need to subdivide it by a lot to get that cornered look right here. Something like that should be fine. And then let's add another cube and make it smaller and thinner, like so. Maybe not that much. And with this cube we need to replicate this look, so it needs to be something like that. And then we're also gonna make this editable and go to edge mode, also select the edges and then hit bevel again and make this something like that, but maybe more subdivision. Yeah. And then we're also gonna select the outer faces, outer edges of the polygon, and hit bevel, maybe less subdivision this time, and bevel these two, something like that, maybe even more. Yeah, maybe let's scale these down, and then hold Alt or Option and hit this. This is the cloner, and set the cloner to radial and on the XY, so you have this look. And on this icon we have 8 of these faces, so we're gonna type 8 to count, and maybe make these smaller. And then now we need to animate this, like here. It goes one by one to the place. So to get that look, we need to add a plane effector. Don't forget to plug this in. And then on the plane effector, we need to mess with the Z axis, Z position axis. Now if we adjust this, they all go to the same position, but we need to move one by one. So we're gonna add a field, a shader field here, and then we're gonna set this to gradient, like that. Now as you can see, this is the look we wanted, and we can also mess with the rotation, something like that, or like this. I don't think they did mess with rotation, but we can maybe add a little bit to make a better look maybe. And then we're gonna color these. So to do that, we're gonna add another effector called shader effector this time, and then close the scale, and on the parameter we're gonna choose effector color and don't use alpha or strength, and then go to shading tab and create a gradient. And now this gradient fills each face according to this gradient. Now we're gonna hold these two and open this up and make it step, so we get that one by one look, something like that. So each point here represents the color of the faces. So what we have here is red, orange, yellow, and goes on. So you need to create a gradient like this. Choose the first color, orange, yellow, greenish, and so on. You need to also mess with the saturation and values to make it more pastel. We can animate the position and the rotation. The original animation was something like 2 seconds, so I'm gonna choose 60 frames on 30 fps, and let's hit the keyframe of the Z position and the rotations also, not the scale, rotations. And on the 60th frame we're gonna set these to 0, like so. And now we have something like this. You can also mess with the curves of this animation to make it, I don't know, maybe more dynamic or so. Maybe like this. But in this example, I didn't see something like that. And now we're gonna add a camera, Redshift camera. Go into it. And I set the focal length to 30 and place this. You can also do this to see only geometries. On the first frame, I positioned the camera in the middle of the icon and maybe rotate it something like 45 degrees. Also make these 0 so it's facing directly on the icon. And I keyframed the first frame, and then on the 60th I zoomed out like so, and we can also set these to 0 and keyframe it again. And on the last frame we're gonna zoom out and make the rotation 0 again, and now we have this. Now we need to mess with the curve of the camera. Now we need to change a bit the curve of the camera. We're gonna hold all the keys, all the keyframes, and make these linear so it starts and ends like a loop. And now for the lighting and the materials, this is just a basic standard material with no weight of color and a transmission with a weight of 1. And for the colors, we need to use the colors we just created on this gradient. So we're gonna add a color user data, double clicking here and typing color user data, and then we're gonna set this to RS object color right here. So it's assuming the colors we created on this shader. And for the roughness, I made something like 0.18, so it's not that sharp. And for the base part, it's really nothing. It's just a basic material with white color and just a little bit of transmission. That's because I placed one of the lights on the back of the this base icon, so we can see a little bit through this icon. And let's see this render. Now for the lights, I added a dome light with just a white color, and then an area light, which you can see here. Let's turn this off so you can see. This is for these kind of reflections, the beveled reflections. Let's set this to camera so it stays there. And then another one also for these beveled reflections, and this is the one I talked about, from the back, something like a key light to reveal the icon from the background, and one from the top to actually have these beveled reflections from the top of these icons. And then I place an HDRI, but this is really unnecessary. This doesn't do very much. This is just an HDRI from the asset browser. You can see here on the studio. It's just one of these. And lastly, I made a bokeh. I take this on, and for the aperture it shows 1, and then focus distance, you can click this and then click the area you want to focus on. This position changes as the camera moves, so at the last frame it's gonna be blurry, so we don't want that. And I keyframed the first frame and the last. Now we have this. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching.